Today, I'm going to teach you a very simple and fun technique to make mesh step by step. We're going to make two different types of swatches. The first swatch will be a simple panel of mesh. The second one is making mesh in the round, for instance, if you want to make a sleeve. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and grab your yarn, a crochet hook, and a stitch marker, and let's get started with the tutorial. Let's make a flat swatch first, which you need to start with a slip knot. Cross your yarn over your two fingers to make an X. Bring your hook up from under the X, then over and through. Now make a foundation chain of any length that you like. Just make sure the number of stitches is a multiple of 3. I'm going to make a foundation chain of 15. Now I have my foundation chain, I'm going to chain one more stitch. And I'm actually going to take this stitch and mark it with a stitch marker. To begin the first row, we'll need to chain 9 more stitches, and this will form the first loop of that row. Once we have those 9 stitches, we are going to double crochet into the marked stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook into that marked stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through another 2 loops on your hook. And now we already have our first unit of mesh. Let's continue working down the foundation chain. Chain 2, and now we are going to skip the next 2 stitches on our foundation hook and double crochet into the third one down from the last one that we just worked into. And that makes the second unit. Now we're going to continue this pattern. So chain 2, skip 2 stitches down the foundation chain, and work into the third one with a double crochet. And you want to do this all the way down to the end of the foundation chain. So again, chain 2, find the third stitch down, double crochet into it. Now I'm already at the very end of my foundation chain, so I'm just going to do it one more time. And the last stitch that you are working into for your final double crochet should be the first chain stitch that you made when making the foundation chain. If everything lines up, that's how you know you haven't missed any stitches or miscounted. Once you finish the first row, you can go ahead and remove your stitch marker. We won't need it anymore. And if you just look back at your work, you'll have a row of these small hollow squares. Let's start the next row by chaining 6. Now take your project and flip it over. So now we are working back down the previous row we just made on the other side. When starting a new row, it's important to work into the first square and not the second one, which is a common mistake. We're going to double crochet directly into that hollow of the square, not the chain on top of it, but the actual open space here. So just insert your hook into that big space, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. It's just a regular double crochet, but you're working into a hollow space and not a stitch. Now chain 2, and now we're going to double crochet into the next square. You'll see your most recent double crochet stitch connecting to a square. Now you just need to locate the square directly to its left and also double crochet into that one. So it's the exact same technique as you did for the first row, but this time we don't need to do the skipping 2 stitches and then working into the third one, we're just working into the squares. So it's not a difficult technique, but what's most confusing is knowing which square to work into. Sometimes it helps to just pull away and then look at how many you've already done, and also look at the most recent double crochet you made and which square that one's going into. So if you look at what I've done so far, you can see that my most recent double crochet is going into this square here. Every single double crochet should have its own square, no more, no less. So this was my last square, and now I know that this is the next one. Make sure you work into every single square down the row. And don't forget to chain 2 in between every double crochet. So now I've just worked into my last square of the row. Both rows have 6 squares, and I'm going to start the third row by again chaining 6. Then I flip my work. Again, make sure you're not skipping that very first square of the row, and just continue the technique of double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, and once you reach the end of every row, chain 6 and flip. And that's it for how you build a basic mesh panel. I like to make a small swatch and keep it as a reference for when I'm making mesh projects and I'm trying to figure out like the sizing and how many squares I need. If you're like, okay, that's pretty clear, then feel free to finish off or unravel. Or you can go ahead and build up a few more rows for practice and to make a swatch to use for future reference. But let's move on to the second part of this video, which is how to make mesh in the round. Just like before, we're starting with a slip knot and a foundation chain. Now the project needs to have enough length to fold over itself to form a cylinder, so this time let's make a longer foundation chain of 30 stitches. Once you have your foundation chain, check that the entire length is facing upright. So I'm tracing my fingers back, making sure all those V's are facing towards me and the chain is not twisted. This is very important because now we are going to fold the chain over. I'm taking the starting end and I'm folding it to reveal the back side of the chain. And you can tell it's the back because now the V's have these little bumps in between. These are called back bumps and we're going to be working into them. So find that very first back bump and insert your hook. We are going to make a slip stitch to close the chain into a circle. To slip stitch, yarn over, pull through that back bump, and then pull through the loop on your hook. Now we're ready to start the round. Chain 4. This foundation round is going to be just like last time, but instead of working into these stitches, we are going to be working into the back bumps in between the stitches. So skip the first 2 back bumps and double crochet into the third one down. And now we have our first square of mesh. Chain 2. Again, skip the next 2 back bumps and double crochet into the third one. By now you're quite familiar with this method. You just chain 2 and then work into the third stitch. Only difference is that it's not a stitch, it's a back bump. So I'm just going to complete the first round in time-lapse mode and then I will meet you when I am almost at the end to show you what to do there. I'm at the end of the round now, and as you can see, the third back bump down from where I am is actually the one that we started in, so I don't need to make another. So from here, we are just going to chain 2 one more time. And what you want to do here is actually double crochet into the first square that we made at the start of the round. And that completes the first round. The end of the round is going to look a little bit awkward. Don't worry, it's because we're working into a spiral. Chain 2 and be extra careful here that you're not working into the square that you just double crocheted into with your next double crochet. Just this once, you're going to have to reach a little further in order to reach the next square. Quick reminder, my last double crochet is connected to this square, so I know that this square is the next one. From here on out is super easy. You just have to repeat the technique that I already showed you for the first swatch. So it's just chain 2, double crochet, and then chain 2, double crochet into the next square. You don't have to end any rounds, you don't have to do any slip stitching, any flipping. You just slowly work your way up into a spiral until you have the length that you desire. I'm going to build this up for a few more rows and I will show you what I do at the end to finish off. I've worked a little bit off camera and now I have a height that I'm happy with for a swatch. Now I could just finish off where I am without doing any further action, but then you have this kind of awkward right angle on one end of your work. Let's get rid of that and make a smoother finish. To do that, all you need to do is chain 3, make sure that you have the right square, not the one that you already worked in, and then slip stitch into it. From here, I'm gonna grab my scissors, cut my yarn, and finish off by making one more slip stitch. And just like that, you have a small swatch of mesh made in the round. This would even suffice as a complete project if you wanted a wristband. And if you decided to keep the previous swatch that was just a regular flat panel, you now have 2 swatches of mesh that you can keep and refer to when making bigger projects. So now you know the secret to making this fishnet look, but what can we actually make with these shapes? I'm just going to give a very rough overview of 3 projects that you can make. Guys, I am a crocheter, not an illustrator, so pardon my art skills. But let's say you wanted to make a bolero. This is probably the most popular project made out of mesh using this technique. You would need 2 narrow rectangular pieces to cover your shoulders, and then 2 long pieces made in the round to cover your 2 arms. Then you would attach the 2 rectangles on either side however you like, leaving space on the upper sides for the sleeves and a space on top for your head. Let's say you wanted to make a tote bag. You would need 2 large square panels to make up the tote bag itself, and then a very long thin strip of mesh to connect the 2 panels and make a shoulder strap. And to assemble them, you would bring the 2 square panels together and then use the long narrow panel to sew in between them on all but one side, where it would hang free, and that one side would become the shoulder strap. Let's say you wanted to make a beach cover to wear on your lower body over your bikini. You would need a very large rectangle of mesh that's long enough to wrap around your waist and tall enough to cover your legs. Then you would fold it over into a cylinder and then attach it by the sides. You could sew halfway down and leave a little leg slit. Now, if you wanted a waistband up top, you could make a long stretch of ribbing and then attach it. I also have an in-depth tutorial on how you can make this ribbing, so be sure to check the link in my description. Real quick, I just thought of a 4th idea. This one's super easy. If you just made a really long rectangle, there's a quick and easy scarf made out of mesh. Okay. Please let me know down in the comments what kind of projects you plan to make, or maybe you've already made. Also let me know what kind of tutorials and videos you want in the future. But that's all for now. Thank you again for watching. Bye!